All right, now we're good. All right. So, thanks for hopping on, and hopefully we got some people on the members page checking us out. But I'm just going to go over ways to optimize nutrition. All right, and one of the things is this disclaimer is that nothing in this presentation is going to prevent you from contracting COVID or influenza or rhinovirus, which is the virus which causes the common cold in most instances. All right, these are all things which can make you a healthier you and boost your own immune system. I'm also not a medical profession, although I did sleep at a Holiday Inn once. And before introducing any exercise routine, changing your diet, or taking any supplements, you should consult a medical professional. So that's a disclaimer, just in case there are people not from the gym on. So another disclaimer, is that each person is a unique individual. So everyone's made up differently genetically, and that's why like a one size fits all model doesn't necessarily apply for everybody. We're unique in our genetic makeup. And we're unique in that we all have different environmental exposures, more or less. And how those environmental exposures react with our genetic makeup kind of like plays a big part in each one of us physiologically, so that we have our own unique way when we get exposed to a pathogen of how our bodies handle it. Now, there's a lot of similarities, but there's always those unique differences, which creates the anomalies. So when it comes to our health and our immune system, there are things we can control and things we cannot control about our health and our body's response. And there's no such thing as a single superfood or a supplement or diet plan or exercise routine or any other biohack that you may be sold on that's going to be able to control your immune system, because your immune system is really a very complex and and there's so many components to it and factors which play into your immune system and optimizing it or building it. Wrong way. All right. So what these healthy behaviors do, though, all right, and what the things that we're going to talk about, what they do, though, is that they help to reduce your exposure. And by doing that, they help to optimize your immune system over time, and they help to better prepare your body to fight off pathogens. Now, the caveat to this is these behaviors need to be done consistently. If you're not doing them and then you feel that you're getting sick and all of a sudden starting any of these behaviors because you're getting sick, does not necessarily mean that like it's going to like stop the flu from taking hold or any other pathogen. So this is kind of more like lifestyle changes or lifestyle adaptations to help build resiliency in yourself and help you build a stronger immune system, so that when your body does come into contact with a pathogen, it's going to be able to handle it a lot differently than if you did not. So there's a couple factors which determine your chances of getting sick when you are exposed to a virus or bacteria or even another parasite. So first things first is age. Age is one of those variables which you cannot control. Your immune system does weaken as you age. You do build a lot of immunity from being exposed to more things the older you are. However, the body's ability to produce the antibodies declines with age, as well as some of the other components of the immune system. Body composition does play a big determinant, and if you get sick, having too much or too little, and I forgot to put body fat in there, interferes with different compounds and hormones of the immune system. And there's body composition related health conditions, which also risk the chance of infection and complications. And what they're seeing with COVID is that there's a lot of younger people who are having to be hospitalized, but the biggest determining risk factor for younger people and hospitalizations has been obesity. Stress is another thing which determines the chances of getting sick. The more stressed of a life you lead, The more chronic stress you have, the weaker your immune system is going to be because the stress hormones interfere with immune system functioning. Lifestyle plays a factor in terms of how sick you're going to get when exposed to pathogens. This includes nutrition, because without proper nutrition, you have nutrient deficiencies, which lower immune function. If you don't exercise, you have a weaker immune system than someone who does exercise, because exercise does enhance the immune system. Having a lack of sleep actually causes stress, as we talked about last week. And by causing stress, it thereby also lowers the body's defenses. And then lifestyle in terms of the environment that you live in or work in. So population density is something which does determine whether you might get sick or not. Case in point, living in New York City with the population density of 70,000 people per square mile versus living in rural South Dakota, the amount of exposure you're going to get to a pathogen in each of those populations is going to be entirely different. Your work environment, a closed, confined, recirculated air work environment versus an open air environment, as well as climate. All those things play into lifestyle, which determines your chances of getting sick. Some other things which play into this are your overall health status and whether you have any underlying health conditions. What we're seeing now, especially with the COVID-19 outbreak, is that most of the people who are getting sick and getting hospitalized and even and dying all have some underlying conditions. And that's making things very complicated for them. Your gut health, your gut is very important to immunity, and having good gut health does make your immune system very resilient, as well as lowering your chances of getting sick. And then your medications, which you may be taking, may lower immune system functioning. Now, we have two types of immunity, which we are physiologically, it's just natural components of us. And the first one is innate immunity. And these are things that we're born with. So we have certain physical barriers on the body: our skin, the mucus lining, and our respiratory tract, the cilia in our nose. All those things help to prevent pathogens from coming inside of us. We have chemical barriers, which also help to prevent pathogens. And these are our stomach acid. This is the oil on our skin. All those things help to provide some type of protection. And then we also have non-specific protective cells. These are the white blood cells, which if we do have an intruder, all right, or a pathogen which gets into our bloodstream, the white blood cells pick that up. Now, we have this acquired immunity, and this is our adaptive immunity. And these are the things that we've picked up since the moment we were born, when we've been exposed to pathogens. And anytime you've been exposed to a pathogen, your body has some type of immune response, right? And that immune response builds antibodies, and those antibodies are with you for a period of time. And this is the type of immune system where vaccinations work with. So when you get vaccinated, your body builds up antibodies, and then your booster shots solidify those antibodies, so that if you're ever exposed to the pathogen that the vaccine treats you for, then your body has already been exposed to it, and the acquired immune system comes in and kicks that pathogen's ass right away. So, as I mentioned, to optimize your immune system, consistency is key. So we're going to go over some ways where we can optimize your immune system. All right, so first and foremost, and this should not be understated, but proper hygiene is key. Now, there's this hygiene hypothesis consideration where it's being too sterile is not necessarily a good thing, because it's eliminating anything that your body's exposed to. All right, and there's almost like too much hygiene. So washing hands thoroughly is good enough. Putting hand sanitizer on them all the time is not necessarily always the best thing. Always using antibacterial soap, etc. That kind of leads to this hygiene hypothesis. However, we do want to wash our hands thoroughly, and we do want to disinfect frequently objects which get used often. All right, so some of the things which are the dirtiest things that we touch on a daily basis are our cell phones and keyboards. All right, keyboards are, I actually sterilized my keyboard last week because I looked at it and the keys were all brown. It's one of those things where like you see it day in and day out and it never clicks or registers how filthy or how dirty or contaminated that surface could be. So frequently wiping down keyboards, especially public keyboards, because a lot of people touch those. I think there was a study done where like a keyboard, like a commonplace keyboard was dirtier than like a toilet seat. Also, your keys or ID badges, right? Those are things which get thrown around all over the place, really able to pick up pathogens. Lastly, with proper hygiene, you know, you want to practice good food safety, you know, cooking food thoroughly, washing the countertops after raw meat's been on it, etc. Right. So the ways that I'm going to talk about in terms of optimizing your immune system are all going to be very simple ways without having to take anything special. And then at the end, I'm going to go over some supplements which have been shown to boost the immune system. So first and foremost, eating whole foods. This helps to avoid any nutrient deficiencies. One of the things of big concern is that you need to get a wide variety of colorful vegetables as well as green vegetables, as well as colorful fruits, because we want to make sure that we avoid any type of nutrient deficiencies, even the micronutrients. And a lot of times, a lot of physiological things which go wrong with us are based on micronutrients or not getting enough of certain micronutrients. So eating a diet full of fruits and veggies is important, as well as eating a diet full of protein is also important, because those antibodies which get made in the course of that acquired immunity are protein, and protein deficiencies have been shown to make people more susceptible to infectious disease. So I'm a big advocate of protein, and even with the immune system, it's another place where that protein comes into play and is very important. Now, along with nutrition, we want to make sure we get the adequate vitamins that I talked about, and ideally we get these from food. But if you have to supplement, if necessary, because you're not getting them enough in your diet, these are the main ones which some of the main vitamins are nutrients which we need to make sure we get in our diet if we want to have a good immune system. So vitamin C is very important. It helps to prevent and fight infections. If you take 200 milligrams for prevention, studies have shown that it helps to lower the longevity if you do get sick. So it's not going to stop you from getting sick, but it's going to make the symptoms of being sick not as severe and not as prolonged. And if once you have an established infection, the higher vitamin C helps to go along with helping your body fight that disease. They have done some studies with high dose IV vitamin C, and it's been shown to be very effective in fighting some really severe disease states. I think there's some going on right now with COVID, but those studies haven't been published or nothing has been coming out yet. It's all anecdotal. Vitamin D is another vitamin which supports immune function. It's been shown to protect against respiratory infections. There was a study done in Sweden where it showed that it was very supportive to immune system functioning. And that study, they used 4,000 IUs a day, which is well within the range of a tolerable dose. Zinc is a mineral, not a vitamin. It supports the immune system. And this is something that you should get a daily dose. The daily dose is lower than the dose of something at acute onset. But the one thing about zinc is, as a supplement, is that it's been shown that if you take like 10 to 24 milligrams zinc lozenges every 1 to 4 hours for 3 to 7 days, and you take it right at the onset of an illness, it helps to reduce the duration of that illness. And then lastly, omega-3 fatty acids, these help to reduce inflammation. They also help to increase or enhance your white blood cells. These are the things which are found in fatty fishes, but if you're going to find them from animals, from plant sources, they are available in plant sources. These are the omega-3s which are found in things like flaxseed, However, the one issue with plant-based omega-3s is a very low percentage of them actually gets converted in the human body to the active form, which we need, or which is going to be effective or make a physiological difference in humans. So the next way to optimize your immune system is to maintain a healthy body fat level. And as we have seen with COVID, that obesity is linked to complications. One of the things is we need to make sure that we balance calories of food intake with activity. Calories do matter, although the type of food also plays a factor into it. And we want to, as we, in the previous slides, I mentioned focusing on whole foods. And in order to maintain a healthy body fat level, we want to really focus on non-processed foods and avoiding those non-processed foods. We want to eat lean meats, we want to eat veggies, and then the starch is going to be based on our activity level or exercise. The more active and the more you exercise, the more starch you can include in your diet to balance your calories with your activity. The less active or the more sedentary you are, the less starch you actually need. In terms of like essential amounts of starch, humans can probably get by with 50 to 100 grams a day, as long as they're not highly active, all right? And that would be enough number of terms of carbohydrate calories or starch calories taken into their diet. To weigh and measure your food helps to keep track of your calories, but weighing and measuring is a practice which is very difficult to do, and it's very difficult to keep going for a long period of time because it's cumbersome. So using your hands and using a thumb of fat, a palm of protein, a fist of veggie, and a cupped hand of starch, all right, and having males having 8 servings a day of each of those, and females having 4 servings a day of each of those, is a good starting place to start your diet. And of course, there's caveats and individualities based upon activity level and body types and all that, but that's for a different day when we talk about nutrition. All right. So the gut, as I mentioned previously, is one of the biggest pieces of your immune system. More than 70% of your immune system is housed in your gut. Your gut has all these connections with the rest of your body. There's the gut-brain connection, which is extremely important. And the gut is tied in directly with the immune system. And we want to support good gut health. All right. We want to make sure that that bacteria and all the little microbes in our gut are good ones. All right. Because the healthier our gut is, the healthier we're going to be. So we want to support our gut health by eating prebiotic foods. Looking at the list of the foods, I picked the ones which are the most common and which are the ones that people probably would be able to stomach the most with and go to the market and not have a hard time finding these. So these are things like garlic, onion, leeks, asparagus, bananas, apples, and flax. So there are 7 right there, all right, which are really work as prebiotic foods to help those gut bacteria. We have our probiotic foods. So the difference between prebiotic foods and probiotic foods is the prebiotic foods already are feeding the bacteria, the healthy bacteria in your small intestine that you have there already. So these foods help to nourish and nurture those gut microbes that are already there. The probiotic foods are foods which have the bacteria in them, which you want to help to colonize your gut by eating with those bacteria. So the probiotic foods are things which have been fermented. These are sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, which is a drink, kefir, which is a yogurt-based drink. Yogurt, I forgot to put that in here for the vegetarians out there, tempeh, and then pickles. And these are the naturally fermented pickles, not like the vinegar-based pickles that are not refrigerated and just sit on the aisle and are good for like 17 months or longer. If you want to take probiotic pills, the jury is out on those in terms of how effective they are, but there has been some research showing that just to avoid the lactobacillus probiotic pills, you want to do some research and get a really good probiotic pill. If any of you want to get probiotics to help boost your immune system, then I can help you do some research on finding the right probiotic pill for you. There's tons of things with taking antibiotics and trying to avoid taking antibiotics unless it's absolutely necessary, because the antibiotics are non-discriminatory and they kill the good bacteria in your gut as well as the bacteria that are causing you harm. So you want to recolonate your body while you're taking the antibiotic as well as after, and there's a bunch of different strategies for that, but we won't get into that now. Talking about gut health is really a issue, like a whole nother webinar or topic that we can go over. Movement is important for long-term health enhancement as well as reducing stress, and it also plays a key factor in enhancing immunity. Now, if you go and are a hard charger day in and day out, where you don't get optimal sleep, and then you push the pedal to the metal in the gym, day in and day out, don't take rest days, don't listen to your body, that type of stress is not necessarily a good stress for the body. That's distress, and that type of stress is not going to enhance your long-term health or boost your immunity. It's going to actually have the counter effect, where it's going to weaken your immune system. Alcohol. So alcohol has a couple of different effects on the immune system. And the WHO actually in a statement said, exercise to help you fight off COVID-19. Don't drink alcohol because alcohol makes you more susceptible. But yet, liquor stores are still open and gyms are closed. So it's kind of contraindicated in terms of what like the research is showing based on what businesses are allowed to stay open. That's another topic for another day. However, when you drink alcohol, alcohol affects the microbes in the gut microbiome. So they change the number, so it decreases the number or the abundance of the certain microbes. Alcohol consumption has also been linked to pulmonary diseases, including acute respiratory distress syndrome, which is one of the underlying disease states or pathophysiologies of the COVID-19 virus. Now, that's more long-term alcohol consumption in terms of affecting the gut microbiome. Just having a few beers on one night isn't necessarily going to change or alter your gut microbiome long-term. Same with linking the acute respiratory distress syndrome. However, acute binge drinking does weaken and affects the immune system as well. So, and this is not just having like one drink. This is having, multiple drinks on a day in and day out basis, which many of us are resorting to doing because we're bored out of our minds right now with all the home confinements as well as homeschool. So sleep, we talked about last week. So there's no set determined amount of sleep. It changes with age as well as varies within each age group. But adults should be getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep. We want to have a room which is dark, calm, and cool. We want to minimize electronics, blue light, and caffeine. We also want to have a good bedtime routine. So we're just going to glance over that since everybody was on last week when we talked about sleep. And we're going to talk about stress management, because stress is something which is really involved with weakening the immune system. And it's a vicious cycle. And lack of sleep plays in with this as well. So lack of sleep leads to stress. The more stressed you are, it leads to the harder it is to fall asleep and get adequate sleep. The more stressed you are, weakens your immune system. The weaker your immune system, the more stress you're going to feel or physiologically. So it's unrealistic to eliminate stress. However, it's very important, especially when you're feeling super stressed, to prioritize downtime. Meditation works, nature walks. And if you're really stressed, forcing yourself to laugh has a physiological change in your body, which helps to alleviate some stress. So if you're having like one of those, like, where you're like clenching your fists, ready to punch the computer screen, because your boss is making you absolutely mad and batty, or whatever the reason. If at that moment you force yourself to laugh, you can't be angry and laugh at the same time. It is physiologically impossible. So forcing yourself to laugh is a tool to help manage stress. The problem is, if you look at that chart in the bottom right-hand corner, all right, your immune functioning is at 100%. All right, it's good to have a moderate stressor. All right, that's what exercise is. All right, but the longer the stressor is, the more chronic that stressor, all right, the weaker your immune system functioning is. And as you can see, like, it just plummets. All right, so it's gradual and then it drops. So eustress is good, distress is bad. All right, so now let's talk about some things in terms of supplementation, which can help to support your immune system. As I mentioned earlier, garlic is a prebiotic, but garlic, you can take garlic pills, which is called allicin, or you could take aged garlic extract. And you could take this as a supplement. And there's very strong evidence for garlic which reduces the rate of a common cold, 60 to 70% in daily supplementation. So there's no direct studies being done with viruses, but outside of the common cold, or in terms of like the flu, or even with COVID-19. However, there's a lot of things which can be extrapolated from this. We know that garlic does boost the immune system. It does act as a prebiotic. It has been shown to reduce the length of sickness when you do get the common cold with this daily supplementation. So garlic is a supplement, which is rather cheap, which you potentially could take on a day in and day out basis, which might help to support your immune system functioning. Selenium is another mineral which helps to balance and regulate the immune system. You don't necessarily need to supplement it. You can get selenium in Brazil nuts. Brazil nuts are pretty delicious. You don't want to eat too much because you don't want to have too much selenium, but to get some selenium in your diet is good. You can supplement with it. Only 200 micrograms per day is needed. And if you are going to supplement with it, instead of just trying to get it from your diet and food, only do the supplementation during cold and flu season. Bovine colostrum is another day in and day out supplement that you can start taking at any point to help boost your immune system. So they've done studies where they did a 2-month treatment of 400 milligrams of bovine colostrum treatment, where it was taken daily, and this ended up being 3 times more effective than the vaccination to prevent flu. And this is in a randomized study with placebos and all that. So it's a really interesting study. And the bovine colostrum, like, I believe most of the supplements that you can get are 500 milligrams, but it's like a dose of 400 to 600 milligrams, which is effective. Now, there are a couple other supplements which you can take if you start to feel sick, or to help support your immune system. And once again, none of this is going to be preventing you from getting the symptoms. Everything's going to be potentially reducing the duration or the severity of the symptoms. So echinacea, there's some mixed research on it. 300 to 500 milligrams of dehydrated powder 3 times daily is best for prevention, or if you take it at the onset of getting sick, it has some proof to show that it reduces duration. The problem with echinacea, though, is that you have to take it 3 times a day. All right, so the compliance factor, it's a really difficult supplement. All right, because anytime you have to take something 3 times a day, day in, day out, it's one of the things where compliance to the protocol for taking it goes down. And then without taking the correct dosage 3 times a day, the effects of it or the benefit you might gain from it is not necessarily going to be there. Elderberry syrup has been shown to reduce symptoms for both for cold. It could potentially help with the flu. Taking 1 teaspoon a day, 2 times a day at the onset of any symptoms throughout the duration of those symptoms. Elderberry and zinc both have been shown to reduce the symptoms. And a lot of times these supplements have elderberry and zinc together as a 1-2 combo. But if you, once again, this is another one where if you don't take it right at the onset of symptoms and you take it like a day after, then it's too late and you're not going to get potentially any benefit from it. The last one is ginger juice or tea. So ginger is a very potent antiviral. So if you, and it's a very potent antiviral, it helps stop viral replication. So when you feel the onset of getting sick, if you start taking ginger juice or ginger tea, there could be some benefit from it. So now if you take your fresh ginger from the juice or the tea, you add some lemon, you get some vitamin C. Then if you add local honey, you get a cough suppressant, all right? And that's proven by some research that honey has been shown to be effective cough suppressant. So if there's a disease state, which cough is a symptom, all right, that local honey or adding honey to the tea will help deal with some of the symptoms of the cough. So once again, with this isn't just like 1 cup of tea a day, it's 2 to 6 cups a day, or basically you're sipping ginger tea slowly throughout the day. So, you know, it's not one of those where like you just have a cup in the morning and forget about it. You've got to be, you know, this has got to be done consistently. So I'm going to open it up to questions. I'm going to stop the screen share, but once again, you know, you have to stay consistent, and there's no supplement or anything which is going to boost your immune system if your sleep sucks, if your diet sucks, and if you don't exercise. So I'm stopping the share, going back to the group, and if anybody has questions, feel free to ask.
The SIBOs have a question.
Sure.
As you were presenting, I went and grabbed all my daily vitamins. So the vitamins don't really, like a woman's one a day.
Yeah.
Has the selenium.
Yep.
It has the zinc, but it doesn't have hardly anything else. So isn't the point of having vitamins to make sure that your body and your immune system is working correctly and that you have enough vitamins in it?
Yeah, so vitamins, so all depends upon where you buy your vitamins and what the ingredients that they use in the vitamin and the formulation of it. So if you get something like Centrum, which is like this, like or a CVS brand or one of the cheaper brands, you're probably getting minerals. So all minerals, you don't just get the selenium. The selenium's always, it's going to be an ionic compound, so it's going to be with something else. And then when your body takes that compound in, the water in your body is going to break down that compound into selenium and then the other component. So based upon the formulation, some of those compounds break apart easier than others. So the cheaper the vitamin, the less absorbable or available those minerals are going to be. So really what happens is you end up like pooping a lot of the ingredients out because they're not absorbed by the body. So there's some better formula, some companies which use better formulations, but really good vitamins are a lot more expensive than like the over-the-counter ones. And I'd have to look at like the vitamin, like the profile, like the label on the back of the ingredients to know how good it is in terms of like the formulations. But like if you look at it and it has like magnesium oxide instead of like, or that's like a, you know, like that's not necessarily a great ingredient. But like it's all based upon like what its the counterpart is.
Got it. The next question is, you mentioned yogurt. There's that Proactiv, I think, yogurt or something like that.
Yeah. So any yogurt is made, so Proactiv, they're playing on the fact that it's probiotic. All right. Any yogurt, in order to get like that sour taste of yogurt, it has to go, that means that there's a fermentation process which it's undergone. So with that being said though, you have to balance out looking at the yogurt with what else is in that yogurt. So like, you know, in terms of like, if it's flavored, is usually a lot of sugar or some other junk added into it. And that's not necessarily good. So I've never had Proactiv. I tend to just stick with like plain Greek yogurt, and like I'll go with the Fage or the Siggi's. But like all yogurt, so it's just looking at the back of the thing and making sure that it's like milk and cultures, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's why I was asking, like, when you mentioned yogurts, was it only specifically to that probiotic yogurt or
No, any yogurt, and because
any
the
yogurt?
sour taste of yogurt, which some people like, but a lot of people dislike. That's why they want to go with the flavors, because the flavors have the sugar in it, which masks that's the sour, like that sour taste of the milk. It's that sour taste which gives it, or it's that bite at the end,
Yep.
which means that it's that's undergone that fermentation process.
Yep, okay, just want to make sure I was doing it right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all that I have questions of, so I'm gonna go back on mute.
All right. Anybody else? Chelsea, Ksenia, Mark? Who else is on? Just you guys. No other questions?
I'm trying
right.
to think of questions, but thanks, Judah, for taking the time.
Oh, no worries. And
Well, I mean, this is you're doing a nutrition one next, right? Well, eventually.
yeah, I think so.
All
I'm
right.
hoping I don't know if I went live. I don't know if I went live on the thing. So probably
Because I'm
did.
hooked on that yogurt, that Oikos or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's not bad, but the Oiko's what, the 000?
Yeah, the 000s.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just sweetened with stevia. So of all the sweeteners that you can have, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Right. I just liked it because it was no added sugars in it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's no added sugars because they use stevia for sweetener instead. But like a lot of like the Dannon Lights and all those, like they use like aspartame or sucralose. So they're not natural sweeteners, whereas stevia is a little bit different. So, but all right, cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks for hopping on. If you have questions, you can always shoot me a message, or you could post it in the members page or whatnot, and let me know.
Cool. Thank you.
Great,
All
thank
right.
you, Judah.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good
Bye.
night. Bye.
Bye.